Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome, everybody. Good to have you with us today. And we're here to improve your life, make you feel a lot better. And there are some people that do hypnotherapy. There's some people that do past life regression. There are some people that do Reiki. Well, I found somebody that does all of that, and she's with us today. Bonnie Slykhuis, welcome back to the show. How you been?
I've been great. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I'm going to say normally I have a jacket on. I'm doing the flannel thing because it's like 18 degrees here in New York. You're in Iowa, right? What's the temperature?
Yes, it's cold.
But I want to be positive. It's sunny and cold. All right?
Yes.
So past life regression, let's dig into that for a sec. And I just said this to somebody yesterday, and it's somebody I see at the gym. And we say to each other, we know each other from somewhere. I know you, and I can't place it. And I've been on Facebook, and I looked at mutual friends, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I got nothing. I can't put something together. But when I look at her, I feel like and she says the same exact thing. And we read each other, we talk, and we're like, we feel so familiar with each other. Is it possible that in another life, as we dig into past life regression, that we may have been connected?
Yeah, so it's believed that we reincarnate into, we call a soul family, and that we reincarnate with the same people over and over. Now, every once in a while, there'll be other people that come in to help us carry out what we're here to learn and do. But for the most part, we reincarnate with a lot of the same people over and over again. So if you're somebody's daughter right now, you might have been that person's mother in a past life, or their father, or because you can change genders too. So yes, and if you run across somebody that you feel really connected with, and you're like, man, I don't know, this is weird. I feel like I've known you all my life. Chances are very good that you probably did know somebody in another life.
That is crazy. And I'm going to mention that. I'm going to mention past life regression. And, she was probably the master and I was the slave. It's I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to believe. Take me through the process of a past life regression. How does that work? Can you do it virtually? Let's go through that.
Yeah, you can do it virtually. I prefer to do it in person, because I read a lot of the body language and things like that. And, you're always dealing with technology issues. But if somebody wants to do a past life regression, we have, and I'll say the longer version, the 4-hour version. What I'll do with them is I'll talk to them a little bit before they come about why they want to do it, their expectations. A lot of times people just say, I just want to see what it's like. So I'll explain the process to them, the length of time. And then there's a questionnaire that they fill out. So what I tell people is come up with a list of questions, 15 to 20 questions, anything you want to learn about. And the questions sometimes are, what is my purpose in this life? Why do I have knee problems? Why does my brother and I not get along very well? Why does this that my spouse does irritate me so bad? Why do I tend to have the same relationships over and over? So it could be anything under the sun. So they'll come in with those lists of 15 to 20 questions, and we'll sit down and we'll go through the questions, because I want to know the context of those questions, because by doing that, I can ask additional questions. So then we'll go through, I'll explain to them how hypnosis works, that when they start to get into, when they go into hypnosis, you have your right brain and the left brain. And if when I take them through a door or through a cloud or something, or bring them down off a cloud and they don't see anything and they're starting to analyze it, I want to explain that you need to just let your mind go and not try to analyze it, because that gets you in the wrong brain. So the more you talk and the more you just go with your first impressions, the more that's going to come forth, and the deeper you go and the easier it is and the more information you get. So I'll take them in and I'll put them on a table. We'll go through an induction. I'll do some deepeners. What I mean by deepeners is it's ways of getting them to deeper levels. And it's just a mental journey. And then I'll take them to that past life when I feel like they're deep enough. And then we just kind of go from there. So they'll usually go through one life. So if I step through the door, I'll ask them, what are you wearing? What do you feel? What's happening? And then they'll tell me all about that scene. And so as a hypnotist, what I'm doing is getting them to pay attention to certain things. What's the landscape like? What's the feeling like? What's happening around you? Is it, the other day I had somebody that said, there's a lot of commotion going on. And I said, what's the feeling? And she says, it's wartime. And so she was able to describe that. So we'll investigate that scene, and then I'll say on the count of 3, we're going to go to another significant point in that lifetime. And then they'll jump to another significant point. Maybe somebody died, somebody got married, or it's significant to them. We'll explore that. And we'll take them to several significant points, and then we'll take them to the day of their death. And then the day of their death, we'll have them see what's happening, how they feel about it. And it's surprisingly, you'd think that they would be a lot of fear and anxiety about dying, but most of them, it's like, I'm ready, I'm tired, I'm happy to go. And then you take them through the death phase, you tell them they won't feel any pain, and you cross them over to the other side where they're able to meet people waiting for them, have a very clear, to be able to look back and be very clear about what their life purpose was, anything they need to let go of. We'll do that. We might do another lifetime. We might ask them what they're doing on the other side. Sometimes they talk about meeting with their advisors and getting ready for the next life. So we'll talk about what that process is. Maybe they just went to rest for a while. And then, go ahead.
It really is. It's fascinating. So I am confirming here that past life regression is a form of hypnosis, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I didn't realize this, that it's almost as if you're looking at a video player or a life player, and you're fast forwarding. All right, we're going to go to another portion of your life in that year or that era, and on to the next. We have instant feedback. This is from Kristen in Buffalo, and you can always reach us, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. She says, how far back have you gone in doing a past life regression?
That's really hard to tell because sometimes people don't know the era. There was some back, I don't even know what the time period was, but it was back, Babylonian times, Egyptian time frames, things like that, because of the terminology and just the words that they used, the things that were happening that they would have no knowledge of whatsoever. Myself, I did my first past life regression. I went back as I was a Roman guard. And I remember being an 8-year-old boy trying to push their way through the crowd. And I can see it today as plain as day. And this happened probably 15 years ago. And I saw the gold on their outfits, what they wore, the soldiers wore. And I kept thinking, I want to be them. I want to be like that. And then as I progressed through that lifetime, I realized that I was a guard at the Coliseum. And again, honestly, I don't know anything about the Coliseum and all that took place there, but I had this overwhelming sense of sadness and despair because I'm watching these people being led into the Coliseum and I can't do anything about it. And knowing how wrong it was, and with my whole being, I wanted to be able to do something. But then you sometimes ask the person, can you look into the souls of those people that are there? And I did, and I saw my dad, and it was very emotional. Now, the interesting part of that, my sister was with me and somebody else, it was at a class, and they were hypnotizing her. She went back to the same time period. Now, we hadn't talked about this. And we were related back then, and she said a lot of the similar things. So that was very interesting.
Wow. So what are the chances that your sister here today was related to you in a past life regression?
Apparently very high.
And the fact that you followed each other, I guess, maybe there was changes along the way, but then you materialized in our today life as sisters. Has that ever happened? Or, that where you had siblings that were from the same time period?
Yeah. I have another sister that I swear that her daughter was her mother in a past life, just by the behaviors as she's always trying to mother my sister. She's trying to always make the decision and act like the adults. And I'm like, man, you guys had a reverse roles in a past life.
Always be careful, because you never know what could happen in the future. Right?
That's right. And even bad relationships, if you reincarnate with the same people and finally you've been with them for multiple lifetimes, there's been situations where a person is taken back and it's just like, okay, I'm fulfilling my karmic duty with this person. I am not going into this next lifetime with them, because maybe you haven't figured out how to work it out yet. Maybe you murdered them in a past life, or they were abusive, or whatever it might be. You're resolving that, and if you can learn to deal with that by understanding the context and say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'm speaking of if it was an abusive relationship and you just are tired of it, by knowing that background, now you can do something about it.
Well, it is interesting. Like, you're armed for that relationship, and too bad that didn't take place previously, where you had to go through, a bad relationship, not knowing what to anticipate.
Yep. Yes. So I had somebody one time that whenever their spouse would drink, for some reason, it would just set them off. And the person might not even drink that much, but it was the fact that they were drinking. Well, come to find out, they were married to the same person many lifetimes, but they were alcoholic in some of those lifetimes and an abusive spouse in those lifetimes. So it's not happening now, but you carry forward those past life memories, which can trigger certain things. So past life regressions can be very therapeutic in the fact that, okay, now I recognize where this is coming from. And then we have a process where we can get them to release some of that, see it from a different perspective, release it so that they can move forward and heal from it.
Bonnie, get me on the table.
I love doing it. You never know. It's kind of like you're an investigator, because the person is always seeing so much more than what they're telling you. And you have to know how to ask the questions to get them to talk and explain. So I'll say things like, describe the scenery like you're painting a picture for me. What kind of buildings, what's the landscape look like? What's the feeling? What are the colors you see? And sometimes when people are really quiet, to try and get them to talk might be a challenge as well. But then they always come out of it, and then I'll follow up with them a few days later, and they're telling me all of this stuff that they didn't say during the session, but they're recalling it over time, because it's a lot to process.
Get me on the table. I want to figure out what happened here. Let's give everybody your website so they can find out more.
So if you go to iowahypnotist.com or h3hypnosis.com, it takes you to the same place. You can find the past life regression there. We also have h2wellness.net. But for the past life, just go to h3hypnosis.com, and there's some more information there and a description about what a session might be like.
So we talked about hypnotherapy. Is that something that you can do virtually?
Yes. I just recently got better internet, because, I am in rural Iowa. So last week I was able to go from like 12 megs to 75. So I could do virtual sessions. It's been a long process.
Well,
but yes.
To 2022.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the big thing now, because a lot of people don't want to travel, or we're expanding those boundaries.
So you can do that virtually, and of course, Reiki sessions you can do virtually too.
Yes. Yep. I have a couple of people that can do the Reiki sessions virtually. I personally do not, but we do have people that can do that. Yes.
So I want to dig into hypnotherapy to help people with things like smoking, addictions, maybe it's abusive relationships we touched upon just a moment ago. How does that work to get somebody, let's say, to stop smoking?
Okay, so one of the things we always tell smokers, we always do a consultation before we do any session. And partly we want to know where what their goals are and kind of their history around it, because you're really kind of analyzing a lot about their life. You know, when did you start? How many packs a day? Why do you smoke? Do you have certain triggers? What's your smoking habit? Is it a pipe? Is it something else? Do you do it? Are you a smoker that the minute my butt finds the seat in the car, I'm picking up a cigarette? Or every time I drink, are you a social smoker? When I go out with friends and I grab a beer, I automatically have to have a smoke, because we're going to use those triggers and tailor your session to those. But the thing is, you have to really want to quit, because we have had multiple times where somebody comes in and says, you need to get him to quit smoking. Or somebody will come in and say, my doctor says I need to quit smoking. Well, do you like smoking? Yeah, I really like it, but my doctor says I need to quit. Well, you have to be motivated to do it. Or you'll get somebody and they want it to just be magic. I want to come in, I want to do one session, I want it to be magic, I don't want cigarettes. But yet they'll go home and they'll test it. Well, I just wanted to see if it really worked. Well, if you test it enough, it's not going to work forever if you keep testing, and you're going to go back to probably smoking again. But also to be able to identify what are those triggers. So I tell people, if you're doing this, you need to go remove your cigarettes. Give me your cigarettes, go remove them from all your convenient locations. And I'll give them some triggers, like if you start to have a craving, you're going to rub your hand and forefingers together. I might give them a suggestion where maybe you can't get the cigarette to your mouth. Or whenever, cigarettes are a lot about taking deep breaths in. So instead of smoking a cigarette, I'll say, whenever you get the craving, you're going to take a deep breath in, 3 deep breaths in, and the cravings will go away. Or, and everybody's different. Some people can do it with 1, some people do it with 3, some people it takes more. So it's just tailored to each individual.
Gotcha. I always wondered about this with hypnotizing somebody. When you want to get them out of it, is it like what you see on TV where you snap a finger up and you're back?
You can do rapid inductions to put people in and take people out. However, when most of the people come to the office, they kind of like the relaxing experience. I call it the mind journey, the mind escape. So we will do a progressive relaxation, and all that means is we're going to make it a little longer. We can do the rapid inductions where, you see the hypnotist shows where they do a hand drop or tap them on the head or something like that. We can do those, but we have tended to do more of the progressive just for the experience for people. Mm-hmm. When you bring them out, we do bring them out a little slower, because you can end up with what we call a hypnosis hangover. And what that means is if I bring you out too fast, you can physically get a headache. So, and I can tell with somebody's eyes, and sometimes I usually count to 5. If they're having a hard time coming out, I'll count to 10 and give them suggestions as they come up slowly. But if they are just kind of really looking groggy, and you can see it in their eyes, they'll have this kind of glazed look, then we'll just take them back down and bring them up a little slower, and with really strong suggestions, the voice inflections, and you feel really great and that kind of thing.
I'm intrigued because, you see it on TV, but we don't see the other side of it, from a trained professional, how that all works. How long does it take to get somebody in a hypnotic state?
It really depends on the person. Children go under very quickly, but they don't stay under very long. And the reason children go under quickly is their minds are open. They're like a sponge. They're, all the information is coming in, and they're just trying to make sense of the world.
Right.
And sometimes when kids go under, their eyes will actually come open, and you'll be sitting there thinking, are they just making this up and going along with it? But they're really hypnotized. So you get in and you do it quick and you get out. And the age of about, I want to say 11 to 25, that's like the cream of the crop. That's like your high school prom show group. And they are very easy and go under very quickly. So I could get those people under, it'd only be a few minutes.
Wow.
Where adults might take a little longer. If you're analytical, might take a little longer, because you're going to be sitting there trying to question, am I doing this right? Now, what are they going to do next? You told me I see blue. I don't see blue. So we have different techniques for those people as well.
Got it. When somebody is under, do they share certain information? Like, let's say you go to the dentist and you get sedation, and they kind of call it twilight. And I've heard from medical professionals that, yeah, people say a lot of interesting things. I'm not going to repeat them. But they say a lot of interesting things. Does that happen sometimes when you're under hypnosis?
They're not as filtered. So we do the hypnosis shows too, and people are just relaxed. Now, you're not going to reveal any secrets. Okay. So if you wouldn't tell me your bank account number or your PIN number in a waking state, you're not going to tell me under hypnosis either. You're not going to tell me.
God bless anybody that can remember it.
Right.
Past hypnosis.
So, right. Or passwords or something else. So that's a misconception that you're going to tell your deepest, darkest secrets. You're not going to do it under hypnosis. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be more free in some of the words you use, or, you know, some of your expressions, because you're really relaxed and you just really don't care. So that's completely normal.
Has somebody cursed you out?
No, but it's just funny because I had a guy that I did a regression with. He was having a lot of anxiety issues. And I asked him what he had a wife that had passed away. And I asked him what she would say about his behavior or something. And he says, knock this shit off. And, you know, so some people do swear. It's no big deal. I mean, you see it all. But I've not been cussed out, no.
Okay. Yeah, just curious. You know, these things you don't know. I think you revealed last time that you do, and we have a couple of minutes left, but you do, you know, those fun parties where, you know, it's a group and you hypnotize people in a fun way. I think you had said that, right?
Yes, yeah. So we do shows. It's clean. Actually, when we got into this, we never planned on doing shows. We got into it just because we wanted to help people. And the more we learn, stage shows are actually a really good way to practice your skills. And the student that I have that's finishing up her certification, she had an opportunity through her training to help us with a couple shows and has said the same thing. So ours is clean, fun shows. We don't want to embarrass anybody, and we always try to leave them with really positive suggestions. One of the examples with prom kids is they drink a lot of pop, which is horrible for you, but we gave them a suggestion as simple as, you know, your favorite beverage is now water. And we had a student come up after a show at a high school, and she's like, hey, there's something wrong with my friend. I'm like, what's wrong with your friend? Well, she says her favorite drink is water, and I know it's not. It's Mountain Dew. And I'm like, so is that a bad thing? Well, no, but I know that's not right. I said, well, she can keep the water. That's okay. It's not going to hurt her.
That's awesome. And inside you're going, yes, it worked.
Yes.
So tell everybody what the process is like when they go to your website and they book a session. We have a couple of minutes left, but yeah, I would love people to take advantage of Reiki and maybe hypnotherapy virtually.
Yeah, we have some buttons on there. There's information. We have some testimonials depending on what kind of session you're looking for. And if you want to call and talk to me, our phone number's there. You can text me, email me, and ask any questions you want. If you want to go ahead and book a session, you can book a session right through there, or we can find a convenient time that works for you. Particularly if you want to do something virtual, I want to make sure that you have, you know, like computer, the right sound and things like that. So I would prefer to talk to you in person. And we can schedule it on the phone, and then I'll put it in our system and you'll get a confirmation, and away we go. So, but before every session, when your date comes, your time comes, then we'll do, like I said, the consultation, which usually takes anywhere from 15 minutes to as long as half an hour, depending on what you're in for, and then do the session.
Nice. And if somebody had a question, they could reach out to you, just a free, you know, quick discovery consult call.
Absolutely. Do that all the time. Love to talk about it. Answer any questions you have.
So h2wellness.net. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Excellent. Bonnie, it was great talking to you. Fascinating. You know,
Thank you.
Questions I've had, other people have had about hypnosis and past life regression. Again, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about it. Thanks for all the details, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. It's been fun.
I want to know if I was back in colonial times, because I don't know. I love watching any show with colonial times. So that's all. I'm just
then I would say yes, you were.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, bud. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay.
I think I had one of those powder wigs too. I'm not really sure.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.